Welcome to StitchErotica 2, Touch, Don't Look. I find myself in quite a predicament, but in order to explain how I got here, we've got to go back to the beginning, which is 2020 with Christy Capone. She had an idea to create an erotically themed fabric-based art show. Since she had the idea and the contacts and I had the studio space, we put on StitchErotica 1. Unfortunately, right after we hung the show, St. Petersburg closed down due to COVID and it was never physically shown, so we decided to try again this year. And here we go. To start, we had to take out the art from my studio, and as we did, we found a little acorn that rolled out from behind a piece of furniture. Since we were hanging on Beltane, we figured that was a sign of good luck. Then it was time for the art. And did we have the art? We ended up deciding to sort by color and then form, and then we started to hang the pieces. It did take us a while, as you can tell by our studio pug Patroclus, but we had so many fine pieces that it was worth it. The studio mannequin Golda even got a little bit of a redo so that she would fit in with the art show, and this is what we ended up with. Isn't this a fantastic looking show? How exciting! And this one is going to happen. It's opening on May 14th of 2022. As for me on the ladder with the lights, well, this is just something we do to make an art show look fantabulous, right? On May 7th, some of the artists came to see the show as a general preview. We got a few interviews with them too.
Hi, I'm Christy Capone. I'm the curator for StitchErotica. This is the second StitchErotica called StitchErotica 2, Touch, Don't Look. It's a kind of an inside joke. And this is Art Lofts, Studio 208 with some of our esteemed artists. I usually work in fiber. I've got some crocheted mermaids here that I've made for StitchErotica. And I also have an embroidered piece over here as well. I decided to keep my pieces small so other artists would have room for their larger pieces. StitchErotica began a couple years ago in 2020. I had the idea for several years before that, but I only recently executed it. And of course, the year that I decided to hold it, the pandemic hit, and the show was called Hostage. So
In this room for 3 months.
In this room for 3 months. So. But we actually had a very good following for the show in 2020, despite the pandemic, and we sold quite a few pieces. I skipped a year and decided to and decided to do it again. So we've got all sorts of mediums here. We've got crochet, we've got macrame, we've got cross stitch and painting, and I'm very, very pleased with the array of talent and mediums here.
Hello, my name is Patricia Toscano, aka Patty. I've always been an artist all my life, and I've always just been inspired to do things. I wanted to paint, I wanted to sew, I wanted to crochet, I wanted to do everything. Everything it was always a part of me. Okay, during my journey, I know in the 70s and also in the 90s I wanted to make quilts because it was really popular, and I thought I'm going to teach myself how to make quilts. And so I got the fabric, I'm learning, I got the machine, but all of a sudden I came across fabric art, and I said to myself, that's it. That's what I want for the rest of my life. I love it. And I love the way fabric is so forgiving. It's like when you work on it, it stretches, it moves, and I just think it's such a great material to work with, a great medium.
So what inspired your piece? Yours is the pink one?
First of all, my neighbor inspired my piece. Christy told me about the show.
Okay.
And I had recently met her in the building.
We have an extra audience here tonight.
And so she said she had a StitchErotica show. And I was thinking about what should I do, and then immediately it came to my mind, I wanted to do a woman's vagina. And I think I was focused on there because I just came out of, I just had a hysterectomy, so maybe that's why it was really focused on my mind. But I just felt as StitchErotica. I just felt that that was a beautiful place for a woman. And it's not only a place of pleasure, but it's a place of life. And so that was my inspiration. And I just used the fabric, and I started using some tulle. And I'm always wanting to keep fixing the piece, but that's part of my process. I work very organically, and that's how I operate. So.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Lena, and my art background is all over the place as far as mediums. I pick up new hobbies, try new things, and try to incorporate that into the next thing I become obsessed with. My real obsession is textiles of any form, but particularly antique Japanese textiles. And recently I've been getting into submitting to art shows because I can't just have all this stuff filling up my office. This, for the show, is affectionately a flying fuck. I try to leave meaning and symbolism up to the interpretation of each person who sees the artwork, but I have my own short essay of what I was thinking at the time, particularly involving copper shells, the number 6, which is an Aphrodite mark, and I'm very glad to be at Art Lofts for the next month.
Excellent.
Thank you for hosting me.
Wonderful.
Hello, I'm Reese Meatyard, and I'm a graphic designer, illustrator, and artist. Typically I work in mixed media, but I wanted to participate in this show, so I challenged myself to break out the sewing machine and make something with fabric. So, I made stuffed meat, because my name is Meatyard and the jokes write themselves. So, I just went to the fabric store and bought a bunch of fabric that I thought might look like some psychedelic meat and painted the sign. And learned a lot about stuffing narrow things. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
And your shirt you made as well?
Oh, yes, this is one of mine. They sold them at Mize last year, I think.
Excellent.
For the holiday bazaar, so anyway, I have lots of
I bought
these
one.
at my house.
Awesome.
So, yes.
On behalf of all of the participants, Christy Capone and I invite you to come and see the show, which opens May 14th during Second Saturday Art Walk, 5 to 9 p.m. Art Loft Studios is located at 10 5th Street North, and the studios themselves are up on the second floor. You want Studio 208. You can also make an appointment with Brandy Stark at brandybstark13@gmail.com. Thank you so much for watching, and we look very much forward to meeting you.